2. Hello, everybody. How exciting is this? It's an album, which means we're gonna flip through it. I'm a little embarrassed about this, but I was looking on my YouTube channel to see when the last time I did a flip through for you guys and realized it was in 2015, which I'm a little sad about. So I know that I flipped you through my day in the life. So here we're just gonna start in January and see where we end up. So here we go. All right, so for 2016, I am using a red polka dot Project Life album. It's pretty. Okay, so when we open up, I always do a title page, like an introduction to the year. And just for the sake of me not having to say this throughout the whole video, 90% of the stuff that you're gonna see in my album is from Gossamer Blue. Being on the creative team for Gossamer Blue means I get a fair amount of product and I use a fair amount of product. So if it's not Gossamer Blue, I might mention it. Otherwise, you can just assume it's from one of the monthly kits or add-ons. So we're just gonna go with that. And I'm just gonna kind of talk about technique or some different things that I did. And maybe that will be a little different than just going, hey, this is Gossamer Blue, this is Gossamer Blue, because that probably gets a little boring for you guys. So here we go. This is my 2016 welcome page. So I wanted to make it bright because if you've seen any of my pages or follow along my scrappy adventures, I like a lot of color. I like the challenge of, you know, taking a piece like this that's got several different colors and then just filling the rest of the page in with color and trying to make that work. So a couple of different things that I did here to kind of go out of my typical style or my typical comfort zone is two things here. I did some transparency pockets. I don't like this. I think it looks really cool when you're just looking at it on a white background, but I don't like having to make something on the other side so that things don't show through, and I don't really like things showing through on the other side. So as cute as they can be, and I love when other people do them, it's something I'm not comfortable with in my albums. So I might do them here and there randomly. But I was trying something new. Yay for me. Another thing I did that's, again, kind of out of my comfort zone is the repeating stamps. It's messy for me. I have a bit more of a clean style, so I did want to try it, and I ended up liking how it looks. But I don't know that, well, actually, I don't think I tried it again after this. Sometimes I will do the repeating date stamp where you kind of, you know, do the date several different places without re-inking. And that's okay. But I prefer it on other people's pages, to be honest. So the other thing that I've done, other than just kind of grab some random colors and try to make things work, was I also like to put our ages at the time. So January 1st, 2016, these are our ages. So it's kind of a fun way to start. And then I started out the year with this layout. So my one little word for 2016 is not happy, but at one point in time it was. And soon after I completed this super awesome layout, I had so much fun doing this, I changed my word because I felt like this was too easy. So I changed my word to quality, which gave me a lot more, I don't know what the word is, but it gave me a lot more to work with as far as things in my life I wanted to do with quality or be quality in my life. So happy to me was like, I'm always happy, so what do I need to work on? Which wasn't really the direction I wanted to go. But I kept this layout in here because it was super fun. I love the vintage colors, and I had so much fun putting this layout together that there was just no way I wasn't going to include it. So here it is. And okay, what do we have next? So in here, we're going to end up having some layouts that I haven't placed into protectors yet. You will rarely see full layouts, but they do happen randomly. And this one was super fun. I felt like I kind of wanted to do a little bit more of personal journaling on this page. This Maggie Holmes Bloom card spoke to me. I feel like I'm sort of private with my thoughts and feelings. And so I wanted to just journal that a little bit because this card kind of spoke to that. So I just used a bunch of different textures and colors to just do kind of a grid collage kind of look, and then a tiny bit of journaling on this little card. And this is a layout that's out of my comfort zone. I mean, layering and clustering, I don't feel like I'm really good at that. And so I took some tips from some of the really super awesome cluster girls that I enjoy looking at their layouts and how they do clustering. And so it was fun to take that and challenge myself a little bit to do something different. And then this was, it's so funny now that the show's over. I'm sad. Well, I'm sad the show's over, number one. But it's the last few years I've always done a Downton Abbey kind of tribute in the beginning of my albums because it starts in January in the US. So 2016 was no exception. And I did this layout based around the wonderful no filter character of the Dowager Countess. So she was throughout the whole series probably my second favorite character, and I thought that these cool they're like vellum stickers, but they're a little thicker than vellum, so they have a bit of a transparency to them, but they're black. So I just thought that I could use a bunch of these and it would perfectly explain her character. So that was a fun little mini layout. And then this would be the first few days into January, and we were still, actually no, so we always make a turkey on New Year's Day. So that's kind of our New Year's tradition. And then Marshall had some PlayStation time, and that was fun for him. And then it was just kind of a lot of cleaning up after Christmas, and I was still on vacation, so just kind of the chill that happens, you know, when we get to January. Okay, so I'm looking for the week, and I'm seeing the date. So 1/5, this was probably still the first week, or maybe I already dipped into the second week. So I forget how I approached the first couple of weeks. Either way, nobody's gonna care. But I picked up this gorgeous Hello doormat from Target that I had my eye on forever. A couple of my friends I had seen them on Instagram and knew that I had to have one. It's super cute, and it kind of pulled and was the inspiration for this layout so that I could pull in some of those turquoisey colors along with the red. So this is just a real basic layout, not too much special happening here, but I used a lot of printables and just, you know, tried to make all these uncoordinated photos work. I mean, the advantage I had was that these two colors matched, and I ended up having some fairly neutral photos that I could really just throw some colors in and make it work. So, and then we have this is just one event. So sometimes what's great about pocket scrapping is that you can really condense one event and make it work all together on one page and not feel like you have to make several layouts or throw a bunch of random picture, not random pictures, but throw a bunch of pictures onto one or two layouts. So this is, this is partly why I love pocket scrapbooking, because of that. I can easily do one event and it not feel cluttered. So that's kind of what I got from doing this. And I used a bunch of old supplies here. Like these are old Project Life cards from, I want to say Seafoam, which was my first kit. Well, no, that's a lie. Wow, my first kit was not Clementine, one before that, Turquoise. So yeah, this was fun. I just used old stuff, which is really great. Here is a fun layout, a 6x8. And I've had this tag from a pair of Gibson shoes. He bought a pair of Beatles Van high tops, and they came with this cool little tag. And so of course, what do? I save it. So I also had recently, well, okay, so I have had this for 2 years now. I think he got those shoes 2 years ago. And then when the Beatles finally put all of their music on Spotify, of course, I listened to it for weeks because I used Spotify, and it was just so much easier being able to listen to their stuff, where I listen to my music all the time. So I did a 4x4 of the screenshot there, and then used some 2x2s and stuff from one of the Gossamer Blue kits that just was perfect. I mean, it just felt like it fit for the era, and you know, their colorfulness there. And then on the other side, I documented some photos of Gibson. No, that's not Gibson. That's not Gibson. Marshall and his best friend from down the street. She had a Star Wars themed birthday party. And of course she was Rey and he's Darth Vader. And I had some photos of them. And what was awesome was that I used the back pieces for a couple of these cards. They just ended up working out to be neutral, which was perfect. That doesn't happen very often, so I was really happy about that. And then this is, voila, blank. And what I love about having some blank spaces in my album is that when I am, what's the word? I'm low on inspiration. When my mojo is low, I can take an empty spot anywhere that I've left one, and I can just be free with it. I usually do no photos. I will grab an older card or some older cards that don't have any photos associated with them, and I will just make a layout around that, which totally gets my juices flowing. Creativity, it usually just happens soon after that. So I don't mind leaving blank spots, because sometimes, you know, like here, after this, I needed a 2-pager. I couldn't just fit what I had for the week in here. So leaving it blank, I just move on. And here is a really super fun week. A few months ago, was it maybe like February or March, Gossamer Blue had these wonderful greens and coral colors in the themes of all of their kits, and it was really fun to work with. The photos themselves don't really go. So like she's got pink, there's red, I mean there is green, you know, so I had to do what I had to do, and this was the closest I could come up with for a color scheme. And I feel like it worked pretty well. I feel like the photos don't clash, but I had to do some creative things to make sure that it all flowed well. So let me see, are there some fun things about this layout that I can tell you? Ooh, mega date stamp. That was super fun to get. And I don't normally, I know cactuses are like really big and popular, like pineapples are. And I don't live in a place where we have cacti. So, but I assume that other people who also don't live in the desert love to have cactus. And maybe it's the succulents that are very popular, and that's why we're finding them in our scrapbook supplies. But so I found a way to use them, and I didn't have to have a picture of a cactus, you know, to go with the cactus decoration. So that was kind of fun. That's something that kind of, I have a hard time with that. Like, I feel like the theme of the photos needs to match the supplies, but I'm really trying to just get out of that thought process, and just go with things that go. So I'm working on that. Well, this was a fun page. Okay, we're gonna move on. Oh, another thing that I love to include in my album are things from the boys at school. So like here, I've got some things that came back after the first of the year. So Marshall's class did like these goals, and then Gibson's got his new schedule for the next term, and he had started Spanish for that term, so he brought home and was just gonna throw this away, these you know, translations from Spanish to English, and so I snagged it before he got it into the garbage. Okay, moving on. So this was a really fun special layout for me because I got to go to an Illustrated Faith workshop local to me. Well, local being like 2.5, 3 hours away. But it was so worth it because I finally got to meet Shauna, and I got to meet my other teammate Gina, and Casey and I, who had only been friends on Instagram and had never met in person, decided to drive together because we only live 15 minutes away from each other. She has become just one of my most awesome friends, not only crafty wise, but Bible journaling wise. Just, she's my kind of person. And so doing this layout was super special because it documented kind of just the things that I felt that day. So it was really an awesome, awesome day. And I wanted a layout that was sweet and colorful to match kind of how I felt about that day. So this is what I did. And then week 5 is, again, obviously super colorful. I feel like I keep saying that, but that's just kind of just how things go in my layouts. So the things that I love about this layout, again, is that I was able to get the photos to kind of go with the supplies that I had. So like my nails were pink, shirts blue, yellow, and you know, some kind of neutral with orange. So thankfully I was able to grab some of the supplies for the month in which I was working in that had all those colors. And even though like this blue doesn't exactly match this kind of navy-ish, it doesn't clash. And that's something that's always a challenge. Every week I just throw my photos out and I'm like, okay, what do you have for me this week? And that's part of, well, actually that's 90% of what my enjoyment is each week when I do layouts, is trying to figure out how to make them all coordinate. So super happy. I love this. Footloose and Fancy Free. That was one of the Gossamer Blue cards along with Hello Sunshine. And just, it was starting to get to be kind of springy and the colors were just so wonderful. So a couple of different things too. It would, you know, to, I don't know, inspire you, I guess. Things that you're allowed to do in your scrapbooks. Turn things sideways. I was having a hard time fitting it here and I didn't want to cover up his beanie. And so why not? Turn it sideways. You can still read that. And after I flipped it, I thought, okay, you know, I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to go out of the norm and do that. And also something I like to do a lot is put things off the edge and then trim them. It's something you'll see a lot. And even here, like this is already part of the card. All I did was add that ampersand, but I like to do that with labels a lot. This was a bit of a challenging layout for me. This week had, again, really kind of mismatched photos, and the cards that I picked, I just did so that some things kind of went together, but my photos were also super busy. So I tried to keep the cards very simple. I didn't do a lot of decorating on the cards, and I tried to use cards that were lighter in color. So as you can see, like I'm using this cream color, and it's just got a real simple flower. And then I'm using white, and I'm using lighter colored embellishments. I'm leaving a lot of this open and only put one little thing on this heart that was already there, and I'm using this, you know, lighter color so that it's more of a contrast. And if I were to have used a lot of embellishments on these cards, the layout would have been very, very heavy in my opinion. And so I try to balance that out. Another thing that I've been doing a little bit more lately, oh, where did this come from? I think this came from, oh, I'm not sure. We're just gonna put it right here for now. So another thing that I've been trying to do a little bit more of is using some of the white space in photos and stamping on the photo directly, instead of using an embellishment on the photo. Like instead of using, you know, maybe this hello sticker here, using a stamp that has a lot of openness to it still allows you to see the photo, but doesn't take away from it either. So we're gonna flip to the next page. Oh, this one is super fun. So I picked two colors, green and pink, only because we started doing some more outside activities because the weather was getting nice. So there's some green in these photos. And then the only other real color from the photos is the pink here and the pink here. So I thought, perfect, I'll just go with those two colors, which are beautiful colors. I love pink. I will always use pink in my layouts. So this was really fun. Another thing I did here too was I took a wood veneer frame and I layered it against the edge with a 2x2 card underneath and chopped the edge off. So that was kind of a fun revelation that I realized I could do, because it wasn't gonna fit and it was feeling it was feeling pretty heavy. And let's see, oh, something else I did here was, so this card, it felt really stark because a lot of the other things were a little, they were lighter in color, and there's not a lot of black necessarily in the layout itself. So I just took some watercolor and a semi-dry, semi-wet water brush pen, and just did a little bit of pink underneath before I layered the elements on, just so that it had a little bit more of a feminine feel. Oh, and I cut the side of this camera off as well, and the high heart. So yeah, this one was really fun. I normally don't like butterflies either, or a lot of too girly feminine stuff, other than flowers. I always like flowers, but this I thought was really perfect because Charlie is growing and she's a girl, and I just thought it was fine that I used it. And then I just journaled right at the bottom and then stamped the date. So these were some really fun cards, and I liked here that it was just an easy way to journal a little bit about the week. So it says, we work and cook and laugh and do dishes and watch TV and talk, and we try to be nice and get along, and we try again, and we hug and we smile. So it's just kind of another easy way to, you know, get to encompass all that happened in one week into one little journaling card. So I like to make lists, and so journaling like this happens a lot in my albums just because it's hard for me to journal like somebody would do a traditional journal. It's hard for me to write thoughts and feelings. So making small lists and using just keywords is very helpful for me. So I don't know, maybe you're feeling stuck with, you do all these layouts and then you never journal. Maybe doing a list or just making some words that describe what the week was like, or what your month was like, or what the day was like that you're journaling about, that might make it easier. And it could also help with maybe just being a jump starter for that longer journaling that you intend to do. So so this was also a very challenging layout just because, again, a lot of busyness in the photos. So I just tried, kind of like the other layout that you saw before, was just doing some simple embellishments and some light and airy kind of cards. So just a little journaling on this Elle Studio card, some older Gossamer Blue stuff here and here. And this was just a 3x4 card that I had printed from a Pinterest image. So that is something I do quite often too. Oh, okay, so this was kind of a 3/4 of a layout. This one was super fun too because it just so happened I had red and green in all of these photos. So I took some, you know, just greens and reds and blacks from the Gossamer Blue kits that I had, as well as this little clip from the Illustrated Faith by Bella Boulevard. These are called Cute Clips, and they're available at dayspring.com, but they have them in cute little 5-packs of different coordinating colors. They're really super cute. So that was fun, and I just made it real simple. Again, really busy photos, a lot happening in the photos. So I did minimal embellishments, and then this I actually printed onto the photo before I printed it. So this was from the Rana Farrer app. And then week 8, here, actually, let me grab a piece of paper to kind of, sometimes it's distracting to see the stuff underneath. So this will give you a better idea of what the layout looks like altogether. So lots of flowers, lots of springy type of stuff because the weather was really, really nice for us in February. And everything was blooming and we were outside quite a bit. And it was a really fun week. Just some normal kind of things. And something else kind of cool that happened this week was that our lake was finally full enough to let out a couple of the lower spillways into the river. So that was a sight. So we took some photos as we walked along the dam. Here are a couple of layouts that I did just on the Marshman. So this one is really fun because I printed a big photo and then cut it up and put it in pockets. So it doesn't always work. Like, it almost didn't work. If his eyes were a little bit lower, I would not have done it. But because I was able to cut them in such a way that his face, the main parts of his face didn't really get chopped off, it ends up working. So I have a tutorial on using large photos in your pocket pages. So check that out. It's a recent video. And if I can figure out how to put an annotation or somewhere, maybe it'll be like around here somewhere. I don't know. I don't do those things on my YouTube videos yet. I'm a little lame when it comes to that. But anyway, look for that tutorial if you would like to start using large photos because it's really impactful. And I've enjoyed doing them over the years. So I basically just used some stuff from Elle Studio. The yellow and gray just went really perfect with the color gray of this photo. And then the yellow just gave a nice pop, which is really cool. So this is a special layout because this one and the next one, because I was actually asked by Elle Studio to contribute to their sketch class, which will be starting on the 23rd. So in about a week from when I'm filming this, but by the time this video's up, that will already be live. So this, I was given a sketch, and the same goes for the next layout. I was given a sketch and then was given the Little Moments kit to work with, and I was told to just do what I do. So I did. And I used a bunch of color and a bunch of patterns, and I watercolored some of these open words to add a little bit extra color underneath, and did some layering. It was just super fun to do. I felt this complete sense of freedom because I felt like, oh, well, this is a great starting point, but I can do whatever I want with it. And that's kind of what I did. So this was really fun. Same thing with this one. I was given a sketch and told to have at it. So this is what we ended up with. And this is actually a really fun story I posted about this on Instagram, and it was Marshall conquering some fears. So he's a pretty careful and cautious kid, and he noticed here. So as we were gonna walk up this bridge, actually to go see the dam, he noticed that the color of the concrete changed and realized that this was a bridge. So this bridge is actually the same continuous bridge that all of the cars drive over, because this is a main road right here. And then they just put these, you know, the guards here, and this is the walking and biking side. He was freaked out, wouldn't cross it, thought it wasn't safe. So it took us about 5 minutes and almost being hit by some bikers for him to get up the courage to walk across it with Gibson and I and Charlie. And so when we got all the way to the other end, I said, now you realize that to get back to the car, we have to walk all the way back over it. But he was totally fine with it. So we took this picture at the end when we came back on our way back to the car. And he was very proud of himself. So I journaled about it, and that was really fun. Another thing I've been liking to do since Marshall has himself an iPod Touch now is that he can text. So I've been screenshotting his texts because he loves to use emojis, and it's really fun to capture those little conversations. And I just used this little piece from Ellie's studio from the Little Moments kit, and it's this little 2x2, and then the stamp set, one of the stamp sets that's part of the collection, one of them says "you said," one of them says "I said." So I thought that was really cool to document that little conversation. Here we have my documentation about being able to watch Fuller House, and how it was the very first show I've ever binge watched in its true sense. I watched the entire season in one day. 13 episodes. We started at 7:30 in the morning. We ended at 1:30 in the afternoon, and ended up watching 325 minutes of Fuller House, which I've never done, but I thought for this show, I have to do it. I just couldn't stop watching it. It was a really good show. So I'm really glad it's back for a second season. Here I did another one of the larger photos, and there's no embellishments. It's just the photo thrown into a 6x8. Here's some more schoolwork from school, and more. These are actually the boys' report cards. So those were things that I had saved inside of this album. This is actually the layout that I did in the tutorial showing you how to use the larger layouts, or I'm sorry, the larger photos in your layout. So this is how the full layout came out. Kept it pretty simple up top, but wanted it to have some impact. So that was kind of fun. And then here we have a couple of different layouts. These don't go together. So here, let's just talk about this one first. So this one is really fun, just about a little date that Marshall and I had. I have to get my wedding ring serviced at a jewelry store in the mall every 6 months in order to keep it under warranty. So when I have to go do that, because there's no other reason that I go to the mall, I will take Marshall with me, and we go to Wetzel's Pretzels, and we eat pretzels on the table, and we just talk, and it's a really fun little time for he and I. And one of the other really cool things was that we ended up wearing matching shoes, and he said, "You have to put this in the scrapbook when we take a picture of it." So he knows me so well. And then this layout here is the beginning of March. So kept it real simple, used some stamping, used some wood veneer. This was a really fun, I've been waiting to use that March one since we got it. But when I get the Gossamer Blue kits, I'm still a couple of months behind. So some of the stuff that's month specific, I have to wait until I get to that month in my album, but then it's really fun. And I used some Allie Edwards stuff here too, actually, because I did this layout after I did my day in the life layouts. So a couple of these things here and here, and this card too, are from, I think even this one. No, maybe that's Ellie's studio. Anyway, I used some of the day in the life kit because the colors really worked well. And this was a fun layout to do. I actually did this layout as my Gossamer Blue blog post for the month of May. We just did it. This was the one I did for May. And it was the theme of the blog post was making uncoordinated photos fit all together and play well on a layout. So I'll also link that blog post so that you can see how this layout came together. And then I think that I'll show you just a few more. Yeah. And another super colorful layout for week 12. This kit was so much fun because it's got like pretty much all of my favorite colors. Pink and turquoise and red. And when Tracy designs some of these cards, I just love, I think that Tracy's snarkiness in how she designs was what drew me to Gossamer Blue from the very beginning, because this card right here, I'm introverting, come back later. I mean, seriously, we're all thinking that. And I love it because I used it for this photo of Marshall on the computer. He never gets to play on Gibson's laptop, but Gibson allowed him to do that, and he just wanted his own little time to do his own thing, and so that was a perfect use for that card. And then I love this. You are so friggin' awesome. It's so cool. Because that's how we talk and that's what we think, and I love that she feels free enough to put that stuff in some of the kits, because I think it can't all be happy and it can't all be amazing. It has to be real life too, and that's what I love about the Gossamer Blue kits. But so again, the photos were pretty busy and there was a lot going on, so I just did my best to pull in the color and make sure that it wasn't too lopsided with too much of one color in one spot. So that's, again, you're going to hear me say that forever. It's like I have rules for scrapbooking. And one of them is you always write in pencil first before you journal. And then you write in pen. And the second one is don't put too much of the same color in the same space. You got to kind of spread it out. So that's pretty much what happens on all of my layouts. A few more layouts that I'm going to share with you. So this was really fun. I've been waiting to use the Spring Forward card, and I didn't really have a picture that displayed daylight savings. But what I did was I had these two photos of Marshall being outside a little later in the evening doing some mining, some Minecraft mining with his wood blocks. So the theme of this is that daylight savings means there's more sunshine, because you should never mine at night, because there's like this whole Minecraft thing that you should never mine at night. So I just kind of used that as the theme. And then this was a really super fun vintagey layout. We love Thrifty's ice cream, and we have one super close to home, and it was this rainy Saturday night, and he's like, Mom, I really want to get Thrifty ice cream. And I'm like, fine, let's go. And so I had so much fun. There was all this vintagey stuff in one of the Gossamer Blue kits recently, and it was just perfect. I hate that he's got like this orange snow coat on, but I just worked around that and used some of the wood theme and just went with what I had. So it was really fun to put this little grid kind of layout together. And then here's another, I think I've said this a lot. This is a layout. I really had fun with this big acrylic smile piece. Oh my gosh. I think that when we were doing our GB sneaks on Instagram that we all included the smile. I think it was everybody's favorite piece from all of the kits. It was gorgeous. It's so big and bright, and it actually didn't come with the heart as the dot for the eye. I switched that out. It came with a normal looking dot, but I switched it out because I kind of had all these hearts going on and I wanted them to feel a little bit more cohesive. And then another thing that came with those months kits were all of these different ampersands. So you've probably seen some of these ampersands in the rest of my layouts previously, and there was like 3 sheets of ampersands in this one package. So they were gorgeous, and I used them anywhere that I could. Some of the other things I like to do are just include receipts. Like when we go grocery shopping, I'll just throw some receipts inside of a 6x8 or sometimes inside of just a 8.5 by 11 and throw them in there. They don't necessarily need to go with anything, and sometimes I will include them in the pockets, but sometimes they just don't work out, but I want to save them anyway. So here is one full layout that I did for Gibson. He decided to get his hair cut. He had kind of this Beatles looking short shag, and he wanted a regular contour, hard part. There's something else in the name of the haircut, but that's what he wanted, and it was the first time in a long time that I've seen him with short hair, and so I wanted to document all of that, and he did such a good job of taking pictures for me, and he's such a good kid. I love that guy. And one more I'm going to show is this happy-go-lucky St. Patrick's Day layout. It was super fun to have him wearing an old shirt of Gibson's from when Gibson was his age, and I just went nuts with the orange and the green and the gold. It was really fun to just dig through my stash and find stuff to use. That I normally don't use a lot of orange. I don't have a lot of orange supplies, but what I did have totally worked. So this was really fun to do. I think that, yeah, I think this is it. This video is going to be super long, so I'm going to stop now, and maybe I'll do another one soon. I don't know, maybe I'll just stop this one now and then keep on going and film that one, or edit it for you guys later, but we shall end this flip through. I hope you guys have liked this. I think you guys like these flip throughs, so if you do, if you don't say anything. Just tell me that you do. I'm kidding. But anyway, I hope you like the flip throughs. I hope that you see stuff that you like, and maybe it inspires you to do some of your own different things. But either way, it's always fun being able to show off my layouts other than just sharing them on Instagram. So anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. We will talk soon. Bye.
Slow rockin' Robin, 'cause we really gonna rock tonight.